it's quite a rare opportunity for us to perhaps discuss something that is real and is happening at the moment, and perhaps some of the issues and challenges in the marketplace today, based on a live case study, the Alfamar Resort in Portugal.
The objective of this session is to critically review a master plan concept. As I said, has been built, it's been evolving since last October. And we're at a critical stage of this development planning process, in that by the end of March, we must close that process. We must submit the development plan to MPC, the investor. There will be two phases to the project. There will be a core phase, which represents about 65,000 square meters, and a second phase, which sits up in the northwest corner up here.
The nice thing about this project, is my understanding, is that it's already funded without pre-sales. That's a great starting point, which is why I'm applying for the job.
You deem that critical, must you deem that critical?
Absolutely critical, because I don't think anybody these days can rely on pre-sales. And I think to give a resort credibility, you have to demonstrate that it's fully funded.
The reality is, I don't think you can cater to everybody, and we've experienced that in development. You know, we've positioned ourselves as an integrated family resort, like the proposed project. We've also built in ancillary elements of the business, such as conferencing, to drive seasonality, to drive out-of-season revenue. That's very, very important. It all feeds back into the revenue rentals for the owners as well.
What are you going to sell to? The Russians. Everybody wants to sell to the Russians. Fine. People will tell you, oh, you know, Dubai is picking up. I want to sell to the Middle East now. Fantastic. So everybody wants to sell to the Middle East. And third, will tell you, oh, the Brits are not buying, the Scandinavians are not buying, but the Finns might buy, so I'll try Finland as well. So again, I haven't seen anybody coming up and saying, that's my market, I'm going to go after these guys, and I'm going to go after these guys because of ABC.
The easiest thing is to get away with a small volume of that absolute super prime elements of any of the developments, whereas the volume of the lower end is really where people are struggling later on.
So to your point, and with the generic programme, and thank you all for your comments, these are the sorts of challenges we have to see where we can pull these people in and how to manage them.
In 2008, when we launched the Fractional Summit, it was in this room, and I'm so delighted that everybody's made it here today. Without further ado, I'd like to hand over to Patrick Grant from CBRE, who's going to give us a good overview of leisure real estate and where it is in particular from a UK and European perspective.
Issues to be aware of: the continued political and economic unrest in the Eurozone really hampering some of these guys, particularly in the European debt markets. It's incredibly difficult to find debt funding in Europe. And some opportunistic investors still see leisure as a recovery play and will affect pricing. So some of the vulture companies and the opportunistic investors are really going out there and looking at distressed assets, coming in at undercutting on pricing and looking at making pretty substantial returns thereafter.
How do you look at what makes up a strong asset manager?
It's become more an involved role. When I say involved, it's throughout the life cycle of the asset now, and it's also become, you know, one of communication between the owners and the funders, for example, and the operators. So, you know, asset managers are expected not only to know the real estate side of the business, but they also know the finance side, the operational side.
There are two or three so-called, if I may say respectfully, asset management companies that are now taking this debt and asset managing hospitality assets, hotels, resorts, etc., across the country. And two funds in particular will be the largest owners and asset managers of hotels in Portugal by the end of this year.
We are facing some of the strongest headwinds that any of us would have known and experienced in our careers, and to deal with that in as positive manner as possible requires a huge array of skills and experiences. Strategic and far more intrusive asset management is needed to maximise the opportunities in the sector.
Go with Manchester.
Okay. For the hotel side?
For the hotel side and for the residential side.
Okay.
I think it's
Out of all of Europe, Manchester.
I think so. There's some great opportunities there.
Good. Good.
That's to sit my geographic knowledge.
Yeah.
I'm looking at doing something in the Estriel Qashqai area.
Mm-hmm. Both hotel and residential would be there because you
Preferably
feel
mixed.
okay. So you can get a good price. You can keep it going,
Yeah.
cover your running
Maybe
costs,
in the
and
future
then in about 3 years from now, we'll pick up.
I'm not going to speak for Europe.
Okay.
I'm going to speak about a market that we're just not involved with, and I'm certainly not going to give you the real answer because it would kind of put me out of a job. But no, I mean it's the secondary city, the key cities in the UK outside of London.
A term coined by Clayton Christensen describes a process by which a product or service takes root initially in simple applications at the bottom of a market and then relentlessly moves upmarket, eventually displacing established competitors or creating a new market.
Briefly, the background to the business was partly born of my own frustration, staying in fairly generic hotels, often for work, but sometimes too for leisure. I was in Italy in the early part of 2009, had this utterly miserable stay at an airport hotel, which so strongly contrasted with a really experiential, enjoyable time in the city itself, because we sort of went off the beaten track and a couple of cogs started whirring slowly in my head, and what really clicked was, I think there is an increasing demand, and we've seen that as a business, for a different kind of tourism, a tourism which takes you closer to the place you're visiting.
We set up the business to really reinvigorate the home exchange sector. What we offer is a club where homeowners can swap with each other in 150 countries all around the world. The two main reasons that they do it is to obviously save a lot of money on holiday accommodation. We find that our members save on average $2,500 per exchange.
This is the first type of platform in the vacation rental industry that has been built specifically to deal with the data feeds that are unique to vacation rentals. There are other technology platforms obviously out there who've been dealing with hotels and other sort of accommodations, but this is bespoke to vacation rentals, which means the kind of the flexibility and ability to integrate into distribution channels is greatly enhanced.
I actually stumbled across Airbnb through a paid search advert when I was just Googling hotels, places to stay in Paris, and then I came across the website, and then started to investigate the concept of it, and asked about my office, asked a few people I knew, and they had used it and had good experiences with it, and I just thought I would try it because it was a lot cheaper than hotels and a lot more value for money, and you could contact the homeowner direct as well just to get some information, and it was great, really good.
I think the event's been really helpful insofar as it's brought together lots of industry professionals who are having to ask some very serious questions about where we are now and where we're going for the future.
I think this is really good and very helpful because you can meet a lot of professionals from that industry, have an opinion on markets and where are they going, what's the customers demand. So for me it's really beneficial.